Prologue. Autumn, 2008. Louis Fon's last morning was as soft as a whisper. He sat up on the cot with sleep in his eyes and his mind still a muddle, patted the little one who had stroked his cheek, wiped the snot from the tip of her brown nose, and stuck his feet into his flip-flops on the stamped clay of the floor. He stretched, squinting at the light as the cackle of hens and the distant cries of boys as they cut bananas from the palms drifted into the sun-baked room. How peaceful it seemed as he took in the sharp aromas of the village. Only the songs of the Baka people when they gathered around their fires on the other side of the river could delight him more. As always, it felt good to return to the Ja region and to the remote Bantu village of Somolomo. Behind the hut, children were at play, whirling up the dust from the red earth, shrill voices prompting congregations of weaver birds to burst from the surrounding treetops. He got to his feet and went toward the light that flooded in from the window, placing his elbows on the sill and beaming a smile at the girl's mother who stood by the hut opposite and was about to sever the head of the day's chicken. It was the last time Louis would ever smile. Some 200 meters away, a sinewy man and his escort appeared from the path by the palm grove, an ominous sign right from the start. He recognized Mbomo's muscular frame from Yaoundé, but he had never seen the Caucasian with the chalk-white hair. "Why is Mbomo here? And who's that with him?" he called out to the girl's mother. She gave a shrug. Tourists were not an unusual sight on the edge of the rainforest, so why should she be concerned? 4 or 5 days trekking with the Baka in the dense chaos of the Ja jungle, wasn't that what it was all about? At least for a European with plenty of money. But Louis sensed something more. He could tell by the gravity of the two men and the attitude between them. Something wasn't right. The white man was no tourist, and Mbomo had no business here in the district without first having informed Louis. After all, Louis was in charge of the Danish development project, and Mbomo was merely an errand boy for the government officials in Yaoundé. Such were the roles. Were the two men up to something he wasn't to know about? The idea was by no means unlikely. Strange things went on all the time in the course of the project. Processes were slow, the flow of information had all but dried up, payments were continually delayed or else never transpired. Not exactly what he'd been promised when they hired him for the job. Louis shook his head. He was a Bantu himself, from the opposite corner of Cameroon, hundreds of kilometers northwest of the village here in the borderland close to Congo. Where he came from, a suspicious nature was something you were born with, and perhaps the single most important reason Louis had devoted his life to working for the gentle Baka, the pygmy people of the Ja jungle, whose origins traced back to the time when the forests were virgin. People in whose language malicious words such as suspicion did not even exist. For Louis, these amiable souls were a human oasis of good feeling in an otherwise loathsome world. The close relationships he had established with the Baka and their homeland were Louis's elixir and solace. And yet, this suspicion of malice was now upon him. Could he never be truly free of it? He found Mbomo's 4x4 parked behind the third row of huts, its driver fast asleep behind the wheel in a sweat-drenched soccer jersey. "Is Mbomo looking for me, Silou?" he asked, the stocky black man who stretched his limbs and struggled to get his bearings. The man shook his head. Apparently he had no idea what Louis was talking about. "Who is the white man Mbomo has with him? Do you know him?" Louis persisted. The driver yawned. "Is he a Frenchman?" "No," came the reply, Silou shrugging his shoulders. "He speaks some French, but I think he is from the north." "Okay." Louis felt the unease in his stomach. Could he be a Dane? The driver pointed an index finger at him. Bingo! That was it. And Louis didn't like it one bit.